Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about asset allocation, and this is not the first time that I'm talking about asset allocation. I'm talking about some small changes that I have made in my portfolio. And since I'm not here to give advice, I can only tell you what I have done and what I think is relevant for a few of my friends for whom also I have suggested this. And some of them have listened, some of them have not. It is up to you. So the first thing that I kept looking at is the asset allocation ratio, the way people ask you to invest and say, okay, your age should be in bonds. So if you're 30 years of age, 30% should be in bonds, and if you're 90 years of age, 90% should be in bonds. Now here the assumption is there are only two asset classes. One is equity, one is debt, and equity in the long run will give you better return than debt. So therefore, largely for a retiree, a 60-40, where you could afford to have 40% in equity at the age of 60, so that the 60% gives you stability and the 40% gives you some little bit of extra return to combat with the inflation. So I was seeing the portfolio of few of my friends who are in the not the middle class. So let's say the minimum portfolio size that I would have looked at would be something like $2 million US, about 15 crores, 16 crores, 16 crore Indian rupees. Now here what I had suggested and what many of them have done is to have something like 50% or 40% in equity, about 30% in debt, and which includes a little higher risk debt because you want slightly higher return. So instead I said make it 20% in good quality debt or 25% in good quality debt. That leaves you with 65% already invested, and that leaves you with another 35% of chunk where you can choose to have a lot of other things. What are the other things? The other things are very illiquid, very profitable, lumpy investments, which is high risk. So it could be a venture capital funding. Now you can't do venture capital funding with a 1 crore of rupees or 2 crore of rupees. I mean, there is no such thing available. So you can go to some venture capitalist and say, okay, here I will put 1 crore in your AIF and you go ahead and do it, right? So it could be venture capital, it could be private equity. Private equity, there is no cap. A friend of yours, a kid, somebody who started off on his own and he's 5 years old, 7 years old in the business, he says, uncle, 5 years later I'm going to go public, do you want to take some private equity? He has not yet gone to the venture capital. So you say, okay, I trust this boy, he's my son's friend, he's my daughter's friend, he's my student, anybody like that, and so you put some money there. So it could be venture capital, it could be private equity, it could be something like real estate. You could buy some real estate and hope to get some rent. Right now the odds are terribly against you, but you never know. If interest rates start going up and rents start going up, and then real estate may start going up, and that time that might kick in. So it could be real estate, it could be REIT, it could be InvIT, it could be a global REIT. There is no reason why it should not be a global REIT. And when I'm talking about equities, largely we have the home bias. So when I say equity, I mean Indian equity. So this 40% or 35% extra that you have could have foreign equity, could have foreign debt. There is currently one fund available which is international debt. I have invested in that. So I've invested in an international REIT, I've invested in an international world gold mining fund. I have some little bit of gold SIPs going on, which is not doing too great. I have some SGBs, right? So that 35% can be filled up with a lot of small things, which is like miscellaneous. And you use it to combat inflation, you use it to combat the rupee dollar risk, because anyway 70% or 65% of your assets are in rupees. So in the others you take a little bit of, when you buy gold, you're hedging your rupee dollar, right? Because when the dollar gets stronger or the rupee gets weaker, your gold prices will go up. So a little element of gold, a little element of maybe silver. I have not touched silver so far. International REITs, World Gold Fund, World Agriculture Fund, World Mining Fund, lots of things are available. In my case, in 2012 or 2013, one fund manager said, I think US looks very good, so I put some money in the US funds. It's done very well, touch wood, in spite of the recent not doing well by FANG. It has definitely done well for me in the long run. Now what happens is, when people ask me in a public forum, should we invest in an index fund? Answer is yes. Why would I ever say don't invest in an index fund? But can you get better returns by not investing in index fund? Yes. Can you get inferior returns by investing in an index fund? Well, sorry, if you're going to invest like the average investor, you are going to get returns like the average investor. Then don't feel bad that you're getting returns like the average investor. It's not bad, because if you want money, let's say you have 100 rupees, you want 12% return, you're getting 12% on your portfolio, then what is there to crib about somebody else getting 14, 18, 22, 72? It doesn't matter, you are getting your. But if you can't do that, and if you want to keep comparing, that's wrong, but that's your choice, right? But these kind of the tips or these kind of ideas will not come to you if you sit at home and say, oh, I will invest only in an index. Fine, that's fine. But then you cannot come around and say, oh, I didn't know I could put money in a metal fund or in a in a gold fund or a gold mining company. There is a gold mining company in India. Sorry. If you know, I've been delaying the videos because of my cough, and it's still not gone. What you also have to remember is this 35% is not insignificant. 35% of your portfolio is not insignificant. And if you have invested in things like private equity, venture capital, etc., it is extremely liquid. Especially at a time when you wanted it is illiquid. Second, you should know that when some kid is investing, asking you to invest, you put a cap also on how much returns you want. Suppose I put money at 10 rupees, and after 3 years that kid comes to me and says, uncle, I want to buy you out at 20. I should be very happy to give it away. I should not say, what is the new guy coming in, giving it to Sequoia is coming into your company at 200 rupees. Why are you offering me only 20? It's not relevant, right? It is unfair. So you should know how to invest in venture capital. When you're putting money with somebody in their startup, you're doing to help them. So in 3 years, if your money doubles, it means you've got 24% return. If your money is lost, it's lost. You knew it would get lost. So you put only 50 lakhs, you put only 1 crore, so it's okay. But then don't get greedy. So first of all, have an agreement saying, I will buy it, you will buy it back from me at the price of rupees 20 in 2000, and let's say this is 2022, so in 2025, or at worst in 2026. Or at a price at least so much, or say if you can't afford that, at least at 10 rupees or something like that. But don't say you will have to buy me out at the same price as a new venture capitalist who is coming, or a agent or a VC who is funding you at 200 bucks. Suppose a new guy is coming in at 200 bucks. Why do you expect to get 200 for it? So be very clear as to what you want from those investments, and also understand that it is very illiquid. Same thing for private equity. Don't get into fight with these people. The other thing you can do, which I find some of my friends doing, is to say, I will do a very expensive debt. I'll give you money on which you pay me 8% interest, but the minute you get funding from outside, the rate of interest will go up from 8% to 15%. So whatever period for which you have paid me 8%, you will also pay me another 7%, compensate and repay my loan. So this can be something like that. Like I said, it can be gold, it can be metal, it can be REIT, it can be international REIT, it can be international, it can be, I've invested today in Japan, I've invested today in Asia ex-Japan, I've invested in Europe, Europe has done pretty badly, I've invested in US has done well. So, you know, all these kind of things make up the other 35%, and be ready for pretty bad liquidity. This was not part of your index strategy. So if you are in an index fund, I do not know how that 60 and 35, 60 and or rather 40 and 35 works for you, 40 and 25 works for you, and how this other 35 works for you. But just being 70-30 or 60-40 or 50-50 I think is passe. 70 years back or 80 years back, these kind of theories were good. Asset allocation was being done that way, but today there are better quality assets available, a little higher risk perhaps. For me, the remaining 35% is there, will go out of the window in another 10 years time, when I expect my brain to be less capable of understanding all these things. So at that stage, I may convert all that into an annuity, unless my daughter is willing to manage it for me, because it becomes a more complicated portfolio. So this is a good portfolio for somebody who is about 50 years of age till their age of say 75, and then converting all that into some kind of an annuity or some kind of bank fixed deposits or things like that. Less complicated, easy to understand, and less worrisome, and most importantly more liquid. Right now this is a very illiquid portfolio. I mean, what I put in venture capital, I don't think I'm going to see it for another 5 years, at least 2 years have passed. What I put in private equity, I know in a country where public equity is not so liquid, private equity is not going to be very liquid. But you have to understand that these things will happen, and these things are complications. So as time goes by in your portfolio, you have to reduce complications, improve simplicity, and improve returns. That's the combination that you have to do. Initially you can complicate, but then you have to keep reducing the complexity. Thank you.